Now, it may have come as a relief for the capital's commuters, but Sadiq Khan has come under fire for stepping in to save the tube strikes at the 11th hour with a £30 million offer for one union. The RMT called off the week-long walkout with minutes to go, and they'll now re-enter negotiations thanks to the Mayor's surprise additional funding. But political rivals have called the move desperate, while unions who had already agreed to a smaller pay increase are coming back to the table to demand more. Our political correspondent, Simon Harris, has more.
It might have been a chilly Monday, but there was one less cloud on the horizon. A week-long strike over pay, which threatened to paralyse the underground, was halted at the last minute. The RMT was persuaded to re-enter talks with Transport for London after Sadiq Khan offered a £30 million sweetener. It caused an instant political backlash.
All it'll do is make the other unions get more money. He's just pushed it into the distance a little bit. That's all he's done.
Surely the Mayor was right, though, to do something to try to stop the strike.
Wouldn't it have been nice if he'd attempted to do something a lot earlier?
RMT members had rejected a pay rise of 5%. Last week, Transport for London told us it was the final offer.
We are being truthful when we say there is no more money.
City Hall said the extra cash would be found as part of the budget setting process. The Mayor put out a statement saying this shows what can be achieved by engaging and working with trade unions and transport staff rather than working against them. In contrast, the adversarial approach taken by ministers has led to years of strikes across the country, whether on national rail or in our health and education services, all exacerbated by the cost of living crisis. The Mayor's offer of more money prompted an immediate and perhaps inevitable response from one of the other unions. ASLEF, which represents drivers, had accepted a 5% pay rise, but is now demanding 12%. ASLEF's Finn Brennan told us, "We are very pleased that the Mayor has found the magic money tree and our members expect to share the fruit."
You can imagine the negotiations when Transport for London says full and final offer and the unions are going to say, oh, come on now, you know you can always find some. The Mayor will have a few tens of millions for you. So I'm afraid this could be, well, the start of some difficult industrial relations ahead.
The strikes off message didn't reach all London Underground staff. Some stations were closed during the morning rush hour. And in bars and restaurants across the capital, like here in Covent Garden, the mere threat of a tube shutdown had done its worst.
My bookings have dropped for this week compared to last week, near enough 85%. So usually I would have 200 covers. Today I'm having 25, which is a significant change.
The Mayor said the £50 million hit feared by the hospitality sector was one reason why he stepped in. But tonight there's an unanswered question. Did he halt a damaging strike or merely open the floodgates to more industrial strife? Simon Harris, ITV News, Canning Town.
Now, ASLEF tube drivers are being offered another pay rise, this after they'd already agreed to a 5% rise, but they demanded more following the Mayor's millions that he found this week, which prompted the RMT strike to be called off this week. But as our political correspondent Simon Harris reports, Sadiq Khan's refusing to confirm how much it's all costing the taxpayer.
Not year 4, surely? Yes. Well, good to see you. I'm Sadiq, I'm the Mayor of London.
Sadiq Khan has been splashing the cash. Today he extended free school meals in London primary schools for another year at a cost of £140 million. On Sunday, the RMT called off a strike after being offered £30 million to fund a bigger pay rise for tube workers. It prompted this response from London Assembly Tories.
It sounds like the bat signal's gone up from City Hall that if you want more money, threaten a strike.
I believe in talking negotiations. I don't see it as a weakness.
Well, sure, but it's not talking that's called off the strikes, it's extra money.
The RMT called the strike after rejecting a pay increase of 5%, even though the drivers' union ASLEF signed up to it. Now it's ASLEF preparing to ballot members about possible future strikes.
Will ASLEF be included in any new offer?
Absolutely. So I want to thank all our transport workers for the amazing work they did, particularly during the pandemic.
Even though ASLEF have agreed 5%?
And this is really important, there's equity.
Even before the Mayor's intervention in the pay dispute, trust between the unions and Transport for London was fragile. Last week, TfL said the 5% pay rise was its final offer and there was no more money.
We didn't believe them at the beginning of this dispute that this was a full and final offer. It went from 4.4% to 5%, and now there's extra money on the table. So it is a problem for ongoing negotiations.
In a message to its members, the RMT called the £30 million a significant offer. But today, the Mayor refused to confirm the figure.
It's positive news that the strikes aren't happening, but you won't confirm how much extra money has made that. Is it more than 30 or less than 30?
I'm not going to go into figures.
So you won't say if it's... You say it's not 30, but you won't say if it's higher or lower than 30?
I'm not going into figures.
Why, when asked by the London Assembly today, wouldn't you confirm that it was £30 million? Figure confirmed by your own spokesperson yesterday.
Look, we're still setting the budget. So the draft budget's published next week on the 7th of January. We're able to give more details than we're in the...
But it is 30 million.
We're in the consultation phase of the draft budget. I've seen that figure in the media. It's important that TfL are allowed to negotiate with the 4 trade unions and see where they come to.
New talks between the unions and TfL to try to settle the pay dispute are expected later this week. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Next, what does £66 billion get you? Well, the boss of HS2 said today there will be less capacity when the high-speed train line opens, and the new train journeys will take longer than they do now. Our political correspondent Simon Harris is at Euston Station for us this evening. And Simon, how can this be the case?
Lucrezia, the two main arguments for HS2, this controversial project, were shorter journey times and increased capacity, in other words, more trains. But the government's decision to axe the northern leg to Manchester means that when the HS2 trains get to Birmingham, they'll be diverted onto existing tracks, which are already busy. And unlike the current trains which use those tracks, the HS2 trains won't be able to tilt when they come to a curve in the line. So they'll have to slow down from 150 miles an hour to 125 miles an hour, slower than the current trains. On top of that, the 400-metre long trains are too long for the platforms at Manchester and Crewe, so they'll have to be shortened, meaning they'll have fewer seats than the existing trains. This is what the boss of HS2 told MPs on the Transport Select Committee today.
There are a number of scenarios in which the number of seats between London and Manchester could go down. The reason why I can't be absolutely definitive about that is because it may, of course, be that somebody's got a fantastic plan to resolve that, but I'm not aware of it.
And Simon, do we know any more about when HS2 will reach Euston?
Well, Sir John updated MPs on what's happening, or rather what's not happening. The government has put the new station at Euston on hold for 2 years after the cost ballooned to £4.8 billion. Now, the government wants the private sector to step in to fund the project, but Sir John said that there was still a lot of uncertainty about it.
All right, Simon at Euston Station, thank you. Conservative politicians have boycotted a City Hall investigation into the impact of Brexit on London after Sadiq Khan claimed the capital was £30 billion worse off. The Tories said they were not prepared to take part in a process which revisited Brexit. Well, our political correspondent Simon Harris is with me now. And Simon, the latest Brexit row brewing then?
Yes, Lucrezia, this morning the London Assembly Economy Committee began a series of hearings taking evidence from witnesses to try to establish the impact of leaving the EU on London. Now, it's a cross-party committee with members from all of the 4 parties, but chaired by a Labour member of the London Assembly, but there are also 2 Tories. But when the meeting began, it was apparent they weren't there.
Could we now have any apologies, please, Clerk?
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies for absence from Assemblymember Garrett and Assemblymember Boff.
Thank you.
Assembly members Neil Garrett and Andrew Boff said the investigation symbolised everything that was wrong with Sadiq Khan and Labour in London. Mr Garrett said in a statement, "It makes no sense to revisit Brexit. We need to look forward, not back. We think this is a waste of time and a distraction." Coincidentally, or perhaps not, the Mayor released the findings of his own research into the impact of Brexit on London. His report concluded that Londoners are on average £3,400 worse off. And the Mayor will speak at a banquet in the City of London tonight, where he will make this one of the key points of his speech. He's expected to say it's obvious Brexit isn't working and call for closer ties, closer trading links with Europe.
All right, we'll hear more about that speech tomorrow. Simon, thank you.